I'm Becky Bullard, and I'm the founder of Democrasexy, making democracy sexy so more people do it. The rest of the country thinks of Texas as a climate villain because of our fossil fuel past, but the people of Texas have the opportunity to make Texas into a climate hero. I love that Progress Texas is starting the Rovolution.
It's Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. Rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. A lot of talk about controversial things being said by politicians on hot mics the last couple of days. Allow me to refer you to one remark I find super important for all of us to hear, and that's an offhand comment made by Republican Northeast Texas U.S. Congressman Pat Fallon, who tried to deny to a town hall crowd recently that Elon Musk has set his Doge crosshairs on Social Security, a program Musk has publicly derided as, quote, the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time, unquote, and has alleged is rife with fraud. Fallon adds to the shock of the crowd that he wants to, quote, tell young people, Fallon adds to that denial, to the shock of this ostensibly friendly crowd, that in regard to Social Security, he wants to, quote, tell young people they're going to get a different deal. You give them 40 or 50 years notice so they, can get a second job, unquote. Make no mistake, Republicans are coming for Social Security, and Elon Musk is their weapon of choice. In fact, Doge has already begun the process of closing dozens of Social Security offices across the country in 18 states, including Texas, a move that experts and beneficiaries predict may cause delays in benefits. Julia Carbonaro writes for Newsweek that most of the locations set for closure were mainly open for in-person hearings. Eliminating them takes away the one place that many of our elder Texans, many of whom are not especially good with Zoom, could rely on to get their questions and concerns addressed. In particular, the Texas locations on the list so far are in Nacogdoches and in Victoria, just the type of small towns where these seniors will definitely feel the sudden lack of resources. And promise you, this is only the beginning. Oh, and we were talking about Texans in Washington making ridiculous mistakes. Let's not forget that John Ratcliffe, Trump's pick to lead the CIA, who, by the way, was succeeded in the U.S. House by the aforementioned Pat Get-a-Second-Job Fallon, is, in the words of the Dallas Morning News editorial board, quote, the sloppy Texan in the Trump group chat that texted war plans to a reporter, unquote. And damn, y'all, the Dallas Morning News is typically a lot more buttoned down about Republican foolishness than that, but not today. The board writes, quote, we were disappointed to see a fellow Texan, John Ratcliffe, in the list of group chat participants. We would have thought that Ratcliffe, a former U.S. attorney, would know better than to discuss military plans outside of official government channels. But he doesn't, nor does his boss, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who was also reportedly involved. Ratcliffe texted information that might be interpreted as related to actual and current intelligence operations. Imagine if the accidental addition to the group chat had not been an American journalist, but a foreign agent. Ratcliffe isn't a rookie. He was Director of National Intelligence during Trump's first term. As a congressman, he chaired a subcommittee on cybersecurity. This was a terrible mistake, and there is no use in defending it. It's inexcusable, unquote. Ratcliffe and Gabbard will both be grilled again today, Wednesday, by House Democrats. That was a wild watch yesterday and is recommended again today. Progress Texas Advocacy Manager Reagan Stone directs my attention and yours to a hearing happening early this Wednesday morning today at the Texas Capitol on House Bill 139, which would establish what insurance lobbyists are calling health care light. We've talked about this. If it passes, this law would establish a new form of employer-directed health care in Texas that would not have to adhere to federal coverage mandates, including coverage of the employees' kids, mental health coverage, and other basics. It's being spun as the best of our terrible options in Texas, considering that Republicans here will likely never cave to expanding Medicaid. But in reality, it will create an opportunity for Texas business to further erode the rights of their workers. More from the Austin American-Statesman in the show notes. And as we begin to wrap, let's talk about Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who I think of as one of the fiercest fighters for the progressive movement we have ever seen elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from anywhere, much less Texas. Here at Progress Texas, we are in determined opposition to a wide range of isms. We're against racism. We're against sexism. We're definitely against totalitarianism, fascism, and authoritarianism. Very importantly, we're against classism. Our opposition to these ideas are evident in just about everything we do here every day. We're also against ableism, and that's a line that Congresswoman Crockett crossed in a seemingly offhand comment about Governor Greg Abbott's disability during a speaking engagement. It goes without saying, but I'll say it, that denigrating a person based upon any disability is wrong and should be opposed. Personally, I'm not especially impressed with her response, which amounted to a deflection late yesterday, and I think an apology is the best move here. Just own a mistake and move on, as all of us occasionally have to do. And once again, let me get up on the soapbox and express my own view here, not necessarily that of Progress Texas. And that view is that we are in a moment where Democrats and progressives must take off the gloves. The terrible polling numbers the Democratic Party has been saddled with lately are in part due to a perception of passivity against the Republican opposition. Donald Trump was getting laughs in Congress just days ago, calling Senator Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. Not a peep of outrage over that I saw from the progressive side or from anywhere else. Americans are frightened and outraged at what they see Republicans and their goons doing to our country on a daily basis. And in the Democrats, many of them see an ineffectual counter to this Republican assault, thus the bad numbers. Congresswoman Crockett has emerged alongside fellow Texan Greg Casar, new standard-bearer Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and longtime standard-bearer Bernie Sanders as the voices in Congress who don't shy away from the progressive imperative, the American imperative, to fight back against a Republican Party which is today actively dismantling our country as we know it before our eyes. This perceived failure by the Democratic establishment to actively resist is in part fueling the massive surge in support for the party's progressive wing. We're seeing in huge turnouts for the recent Bernie and AOC rally tour, which in the presence of this terrible polling may be the early indication of a grassroots progressive insurgency. See a Vanity Fair piece on that in the show notes. My personal take on Crockett's comment about Governor Abbott's disability is that it was small, unnecessary, poorly timed, an unforced error, and clearly not thought through very thoroughly and should be taken back with an apology. But y'all, the way I see it, when the gloves are off, there are going to be some wild swings. And one mistake like this, regrettable as it might be, is nowhere near what we see from Donald Trump and the rest of the MAGA cult on a daily basis. I want to refer you to a great take on all of this in a post from last night from Mike Brock and his Notes from the Circus Substack, which is great. It's linked in the show notes this morning. Mike says, quote, "The moral reckoning our moment demands isn't about policing language with equal vigor regardless of context. It's about recognizing which actions truly violate human dignity at scale. It's about maintaining a sense of proportion that doesn't equate a verbal jab with the systemic destruction of human lives. It's about refusing to allow superficial concerns about civility to eclipse substantive concerns about cruelty," unquote. Let's certainly note the position of several of our most prominent disability rights groups, which Politico notes are expressing disappointment with Congresswoman Crockett, but also still seeing her as an ally deserving a second chance. Josie Bizik, Senior Communications and Digital Experience Director at the United Spinal Association, says, quote, "Governor Abbott sometimes has policies that are harmful to people with disabilities, and that's terrible. Representative Crockett has a history of protecting the programs and rights of people with disabilities, and that's wonderful. At the same time, the stigma is real," unquote. Katie Nees, CEO of the ARC of the United States, an organization serving people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, says, quote, "When public figures use language that mocks a person's disability, they fuel the stigma that already keeps people with disabilities out of public offices, workplaces, and other spaces where decisions are made. We can debate policies without using language that demeans an entire community," unquote, and with both, we agree. March is Women's History Month, and Progress Texas Advocacy Associate Tatum Owens has put together a great rundown in celebration of the enormous breakthroughs Texas women have accomplished, as well as an analysis of why Texas remains among the worst states in which to live for women, plus a full list of Women's History Month events happening across the state. See that list at progresstexas.org. Don't forget also that the Draggieland event at Texas A&M is on after a hard-fought legal win by A&M's Queer Empowerment Council and our friends at FIRE. It's happening tomorrow night, Thursday, March 27th, at Rudder Theater on the main A&M campus in College Station. See the show notes for a ticket link. Highly recommended for Aggieland progressives to show up in force to support Draggieland. Progress Texas is proud to welcome San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg as our guest for a live podcast taping and fundraising party on Tuesday, May the 6th in San Antonio, and you are invited. We look forward to a long overdue and fun get-together with y'all at our Party for Progress in San Antonio. Again, mark that date, Tuesday, May the 6th, live pod taping with Mayor Ron Nirenberg and good fun with you. Keep it here for more details. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to John Oberlin, Lucy Frost, and Gary Kutek, all of whom are very much on the team. We appreciate all of y'all very, very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.